Hey everyone, welcome to May 30th trade recap. Ended red, and it's all because of, well, not all because, but let's say like two of my trades. One of them was really bad. The other one, I think I managed well given the scenario. So I'll go in order of the orders on the bottom here, and starting with Red Robin. They had, I guess, good earnings. And they started spiking up. Looking here, if we see in the previous day, he started gapping. I think this was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday it gapped up and then sold off, and so I was sort of looking to enter around this basically whenever I saw any resistance start forming. As this started going parabolic, I was looking for an entry. You see here, there was like some indecision. I saw that, it wasn't pushing higher. And so I entered my starter position here. It ended up breaking through that with volume, but then dumped immediately after. At this point, I was looking for another ATR to add. I used a 3-day or 3-period exponential averaged for the ATR to try and front load the move as much as possible in terms of like what a standard deviation is for my next entries. It didn't reach that point. I believe ATR was like 60 cents at this point, and it didn't reach 60 cents above, so it would have been like 5.9. Didn't reach that. Ended up selling off huge red candle here, and then I covered my position uh, down there because I was in SPRO as well, and I wanted to just move on to the next thing. Looking at this, it ended up going a bit lower. It looks like to 4.9, but chopped basically all day. I don't think I missed out on much. Yeah, I covered a 4.75. It actually halted down after this. I covered most of it. It looks like I sniped the bottom of the day there. It would have been a good entry as we got close to 5.6 again. We got to 5.4 here, and then looks like 5.3 here. Um, but I wasn't really interested in re-entering this one. There were a lot of popping stocks today, which is why I have so many trades. Um, but yeah. So moving on to SPRO. Okay, SPRO. So uh, I was looking at this wick as potential entry. It hit my what's it called? It hit my alerts right about here. So after I saw this dump, I was thinking as close as we can get to this, the better. So I entered for a starter position here at 2.6. It went up to 2.65 and sold off a little bit, then huge candle up. And I was just looking for resistance essentially. Saw it at like 2.75-ish. It looks like I got in at 2.75, sniped that top, and covered into this sell-off here. So I was like looking to cover around here, but if you see these wicks here, anytime I saw like a little bit of support forming, I covered into those. Um, Covered the rest of my position here. It ended up coming back up to 2.68 and covered here. This would have been a good entry, 2.7, playing mid VWAP or low of day. I don't think it got there, but I ended up re-entering this later for a very small gain. See right here. I was risking 2.75, saw earlier where I sniped that entry. It hit that and sold off, but I got in at 2.71. So got in here, was playing VWAP, but I ended up selling my position at looks like 2.67. So I got in 2.71, sold at 2.67. But I should have held to 259. There is no reason for me to really sell there. I think I made like $7 on that trade. Um, Next was when I got into this bad boy here. This one screwed me. So the big mistake I made for LVWR was how aggressive my first two entries were. This was showing pretty bullish price action. So once I got to this point where I like had an opportunity to get out for break even, I should have got out. Or I should have got out on this breakout, but I didn't. And this just grinds above VWAP for so long. So at this point I'm like this point when I snipe the top, I'm like this is like my max exposure. I think I was down. I think my cumulative drawdown was like 1,000, I want to say, or 1,500, something like that, which is really bad. Like that was not the position I wanted to be in at all. And it was all because of how I rushed these entries. I need to be super careful. And if this breaks out, I need to just get out at that point. Like, first of all, this downwick is where I should have taken some profits, like a little bit, and then I would have risked high of day. Then on this breakout, I get out and just wait for this to sort of show weakness again. Or like looking at like overhead resistance levels, like this is the yearly, it looks like. Um, Getting as close to like these sort of consolidation zones, like 567, 544, 509, like focusing my entries there instead of like in the threes and fours would have been much, much better. Um, so big mistake there as far as these entries. I got out for most of my position, or sorry, I deleveraged, I guess. I decreased my exposure in these sort of areas here when it started forming support near VWAP. It came back up, and I'm like getting a better average cost here. At this point, I had an average cost of like 4.6 or something. And then on this candle, I get faked out. Like, I was like, if this breaks out above this high, I'm done. And it did. Like, this high was 509. And then as soon as I saw like 512, I got out. But there's no volume on this push. Like, there was literally no reason for me to get out there unless it squeezed up super high. Then I should have got out. I mean, if I'm like gonna realize a $600 loss, right? Why does it matter if I just wait for another 5, 10 cents? Like, it's not a big difference in loss, especially with this low of volume. Like, this wasn't even a proper breakout. And then we sold under it right after. And if I had my, 4 or 5 target, which I did, it ended up just like going right under that. So this $600 loss would have been like $100 gain if I um if I managed it better. Either I would have got out for like break even or slightly lower loss. Because I realized, like we see here, I realized like $70 in or $100 of losses. And then as we come up here, this is when I like covered the rest of my position, right? There was no point. Like this, there's literally no point of getting out there. So super unfortunately, like how I played it. My entries early were bad, and then once like this third entry is like good. This is like where I think I would have wanted to start being in. Ideally, the last two is like perfect. But I wasn't keeping in mind what overhead resistance was. I was just looking at, pre-market levels. Even here, like if we look at like here, like 385, right? When we get to 385, right about here, that's when I took my entry. It broke up above it with volume. So it's like already a bad sign. When I see that, I need to like look to cover and risk the high of day. This was just a clean breakout and then a retest, and then it just shot up. So got caught in a bad drawdown. I think I managed it well, like where I added. Like this was like a pretty good ad considering it came down this. And then like this, like I played this perfectly. I just got scared that it would keep squeezing up. Um, this had no volume. I needed to pay attention to that. This alone costed me like 600 bucks. So super unfortunate. I think there's two ways to play this. Either I get out here on the initial breakout, and then like I don't have to worry about like even this loss would have been like less. So after my first two entries, and I see that, we start selling off a little bit, I need to risk the breakout of that high. Um, get out here and then just wait, like wait for the next indecision. Like this had some indecision here. I could have risked high of day and then I would have probably gotten taken out there. But then like just looking at this just grinded up pretty consistently. And I could have looked at overhead and seen like, okay, where's a good spot to get in? Or the other thing is like just wait for the first red candle. Like wait for when people are actually selling and the bid's getting smashed and then play that like top. So like I could have got in at 478 and this didn't go much higher than that. I could get in there, play my 1 ATR as like an addition. Even though this had volume, it didn't surpass the volume here. Seeing indecision and shorting here could have got in and then covered into this, play the retest, covered into that. It would have been perfect. But this initial entry really screwed me up, and not cutting at that point really screwed me up. So, two ways to play that. Either if I'm already in the drawdown, try and manage it the best. I think I did manage it well here by getting out of a lot of my position and then playing this retest. But just the fact that I got out here made this a massive loss and it didn't need to be. Moving on. So after this one, I was in BMGL, which I also took a loss in. Same thing. These entries way too early, and then once I got to like this point here, I should have tried to cover my position or take some exposure off and risk high of day on this tiny pullback. But I got stuck in adding. Eventually sniped the top, and this sold off fast, which is good. But as we see, like this ended up grinding up really high. So this was also showing like pretty bullish action. My ads were good. Like I'm happy with these. Um, and then it ended up cracking quick. But these two always ruin my average cost. So I started realizing some into these cracks. That's why my loss was small. But the drawdown on this was insane. So I need to think of the best way to approach these sort of situations. So if my initial entry is wrong, and then my second entry is wrong, I should wait for like whatever top out and risk that break. I could always get in like higher, but I need to wait for the momentum to slow down. Um, looking at overhead, see here, uh, it was at this point, right? But the volume was overwhelming. Like this is so much volume to where resistance doesn't even matter. So I should have just stayed away from this. I should have looked at pre-market volume, assessed the, yearly chart and played off of that. We see we have a little bit of volume on this day, but these got smashed out. Like the volume here is like in comparison is absolutely um insane. So yeah, like this is where I was looking at it, right? But look at this crazy squeeze. Um Looking at this, it went up 400%. So, yeah, this could have gone a lot better. Honestly, I should have avoided this one entirely. Looking at how much volume we had, overhead resistance wouldn't have mattered. Um, but I think I managed it well considering the drawdown I was in. Uh, I I covered at kind of the right time. I reached my max position size. If it broke out after this period, I would have gotten out. Um, but this kind of stuff doesn't happen that often to me, which is why I'm okay taking on the extra risk. Um, I just need to cut them quick if I see like really bullish breaking out. So that was BMGL. That was my other loser for today. We'll go over BENF and then BURU. BENF, this one was showing resistance. So I saw this wick and then I figured I'd get in as close to the retest as possible. Got in at 0.55. It broke up a little bit with lower volume than this indecision candle. It came down and then we started pushing back up. I entered again at 0.59. We chopped for a bit at this level. This wasn't showing like super bullish momentum and breaking out like the other ones that like LVWR and BMGL were. After this sort of sideways chop, it ended up breaking down. But my mistake here was getting out like my full position size, like two candles in. Like here, taking off 25%, and I should have just waited, taken off like 25% here. Maybe a little more. Like at this point, I should have been like 50% in my position. And then this just sort of rides down. Like if it retests after these two big red candles, everyone's going to want to short as close to this as possible. So this is going to be super hard resistance. Um, and I could add into that if we climb up there. So I shouldn't have gotten out of all of my position here. Should have carried on some of it. See, we go down like another, it looks like 8 cents from when I got out here, 0.49. So yeah, that's like solid profits I'm leaving on the table. I think my average cost was like 5.6. I got out of the rest of my position at like 4.9. So like that's what, 7 cents, and I made 150 bucks. Like this could have easily doubled if I held on a bit longer. I was looking for a quick winner after these two like bad trades, which is why I got out early of this one. And then BURU, Buru was showing resistance at like zero point 0.5. So I was seeing like this kind of level early on, like not getting broken. So I was trying to get close to 5.1, 5.2, but after this 5.055 got shorted really hard. I saw like a bunch of at this point, I saw a bunch of orders coming in and the ass just wasn't moving. So I tried to get an order in at 5.055, but it didn't work. And so on this retest, I ended up getting in. I got in at 4.9, risking like basically 5.2, trying to add close to this, but we didn't get there. So after this entry, I covered some of it here. I think like half my position, and then was just holding. Went, made breakfast, and then this massive red candle happened, so I covered some more there. This one I think I played pretty well. It ended up selling off more, should have probably held, but I think I played it like pretty solid. I got out kind of when I wanted to get out. Like typically like VWAP and lower VWAP, I want to get out of as much as possible. Because I feel like a lot of people like tend to cover or buy there, so it's just better to get out of most of the position and play the jumps up if it gets there. I've noticed that I think jumps up happen more often than just sell off and dump. Um, like if we look at what we traded today, I think two of them I should have held on to. The other ones all sort of spiked back up. So just percentage wise, um, that's what happened. Anyways, all in all, really upset about LVWR and BMGL. Like these ones were traded very poorly on my end. I got in too early for both of them, and then I need to just cut these like when they're not working in my favor. Like I'm trying to think how often after 4 or 5 entries am I actually making profit on something, right? I feel like most of the time I'm losing money, but like what's the difference in loss? It might be better for me to just go super heavy on my first two entries versus scaling into the position and just setting a hard stop at like maybe 1 or 2 ATRs up and just making my profit that same 1 or 2 ATRs down. Instead of scaling into this kind of position, which, it worked out for me. Like it's why I have this strategy. But how worth it is it to be in like a 1K, 1.5K drawdown for a couple $100 of profit versus cutting at that like let's say $200 loss and then coming in like here or here. When I see, resistance start forming, like getting in there and trying to play the whole 50% move down, right? If I have a 2K position like with an average of 1.8 and then I'm covering at 165 and that kind of a thing, that's like a much better risk to reward than than scaling into the position with almost unlimited risk. I mean, obviously, like if I notice it's highly manipulated, I would probably cut it early. But yeah, anyways, this kind of approach keeps me um, sometimes overexposed and in bad drawdowns. So I'm trying to figure out the best way around this. Like, I'm seeing a lot of the time, there's like these, look at how bullish this is, like hugging upper VWAP, like above it. Like that's super, super bullish trend action and super like parabolic kind of action. And knowing when to get in those, knowing the top is pretty hard. So if I don't get it right, I need to get out. Um, it's just a matter of seeing that bid step up, looking at the volume comparative to other volume, looking at other resistance comparative to today's, volume. Uh, yeah, anyways. Thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful to anyone trading. I would rate today like a 3 out of 10. I made the mistake of getting out too early on BENF. I added too early on BMGL and LVWR. I think everything else was played decently well. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. Ended green on the week, which is good. Um, and yeah, hope everyone has a good weekend. Peace.